Hi folks, I'm Joe Stagner and welcome to this introductory video on a new series that I'm calling ASP.NET MVC for the Rest of Us. The idea of this series is to give folks that have experience in ASP.NET Web Forms or are new to the Microsoft Web Development Platform an introduction from the ground up to ASP.NET MVC. So in order to do that and start from scratch, we need to understand a little bit about the plumbing on which World Wide Web applications run. Now, if you've been a web forms developer for some time, you may or may not have had to interact at the lower levels. ASP.NET Web Forms does a great job of abstracting some of the plumbing mechanisms of both the network stack as well as the details of what technology the browser understands to make it easy to program against. And by all means, if that works for you and you haven't run into any roadblocks because of that abstraction, you should keep using web forms. But for certain kinds of applications, ASP.NET MVC may be a more appropriate choice, and that's why we're going to explore that in this video series. So, the first thing that we want to remember is that all web server applications ultimately do the same thing, and that is they create stuff that gets sent to the browser. And that stuff looks like this, and this is a simplification, but basically when our server application does its thing, it bundles up a bunch of stuff and sends it down to the browser. And that stuff consists of things like HTML, JavaScript, cascading style sheets. HTML contains objects like form objects, form field objects, cookies, which will be very important as this discussion continues, and access to the HTTP information that is associated with the request and response, all of which we're about to explain. So HTTP stands for the Hypertext Transport Protocol. And the Hypertext Transport Protocol is, you can think of it as like a bundling service that runs on top of a lower level network stack called TCP/IP. And HTTP is the level at which our World Wide Web applications move from browser to server back to browser. And of course, inside the browser, that whole collection of stuff we often refer to as the document object model, and that's what we interact with when we manipulate what appears in our browser at runtime. So whatever our server does, whatever technology